Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and it's Women's History Month, and I'm here today to talk to you about Free Rein. This is a show that came out in 2017 and ended in 2019, and it's a Netflix show. And I remember back in the day when I first had Netflix, and I was watching it because of Daredevil, and I was looking for new stuff to watch, and I stumbled upon this show, and what caught my eye was all like, is that a black girl riding a horse? Because see, the thing is you don't see black people riding a horse like at any point in time, whether it's real life, movies, television shows. I think the first time I ever saw a black person ride a horse was a show called Briscoe County Jr. back in the early 1990s. Like literally it came out like in 1990 or something like that. So it's very rare to see a black person ride a horse. But there are black people that do ride horses even in real life. There's some people in my city who actually ride horses and they're black, and their animals just poop everywhere on the sidewalks. But I was really fascinated by this. I'm all like, wow, this girl who's black, well, technically Afro-Latino, and she's the lead of her own show, and it has to do with horses. So even though horse shows aren't really my thing, I decided to check it out, and I was very surprised. It was very, very pleasant and everything. I remember, there aren't that many horse shows that I know of. Yeah, there are some, and yeah, there are some movies. The only thing I can think of is, Black Beauty, which I've never seen. Then, there was this one horse show on Nickelodeon on an app, and I tried to watch the first episode, but then it wouldn't let me watch the rest. I did not like that show. It wasn't very entertaining. It only lasted for one season. And then I stumbled across this. Now I know there's the Saddle Club, but I've never watched it except for 2 episodes on YouTube, and it was all right. The entire series is on Tubi. I'm gonna try my best to watch it as fast as I can, hopefully before this week is out. And so, I've never really watched horse shows. I love horses. They look great. I've never rode one, but so this isn't really my genre. But I was very pleasantly surprised about how cool this show was. It's a teen drama about a bunch of kids, or teens, I should say, who, they're at kind of like this horse ranch type thing, and they learn how to ride horses, and they compete in competitions. And of course, it's your typical drama. So there's love, romance, triangles. There's the place is running out of money, people stealing horses, rivalries, this and that, your typical tropes and everything. But I was just so fascinated by how the lead actress is black. And I just thought to myself, that is so cool and everything. And so the show was created by Vicky Lutus and Anne McClary. And so they are the ones who created this show, and they are both British. And this is actually a British show. But the lead actress, Jalen Boren, she's actually American. There are actually only 3 Americans to star in the show, and 1 who's kind of like a guest appearance and stuff. But this is technically a British show, and it's primarily that of a female show. And so, I just think that's cool. How often is it for Afro-Latino girl to get her own show, and have it last for 3 seasons and 2 specials for a total of 32 episodes? That's a blessing. And to learn how to ride a horse. And she's not really a huge established actress. This was she started off, and this was her first major role. She's had 3 big major roles where she was the main cast, but this was her first major role. She's had smaller stuff in the past, and I never knew who she was. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, this is like a huge blessing, and she got it because she lied. So they was looking for somebody who has horse experience. So on her resume, she lied and said, "Yeah, I got experience and everything." Flew on over there and didn't know a thing about horses. They had to teach her, she had to learn the ropes and everything. Thank God they didn't fire her or punish her in no kind of way, because she is like really cool in this role and stuff. And like, so, they had to like teach her and stuff. So, but the funny story is like one time she was riding a horse, I think alongside the beach, and her wig fell off. I didn't even know she was wearing a wig. I assumed that was her real hair and everything. But yeah, so it's like she lied and her wig flew off and everything, and she got a leading role. That is like huge for any celebrity, especially somebody who's starting out. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about this show is that the show is very pleasant and everything. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it's a teen drama, and but it's one of those things that's a family show. Anybody can just like, watch this and stuff. It doesn't matter the age. There's no drinking, there's no drugs, there's no violence, there's no cussing, there are no slurs. This is something like a teen drama that anybody can watch. It's not like edgy, because it's also not kiddie as well. It's not like Disney Channel or like Nickelodeon. It's not wacky. It has like a nice blend towards somewhere like in the middle, you know what I'm saying? There are times where they do want to go a little bit edgier, but they can't. Like when the two opposing schools about to fight each other, and they literally charged at each other like on the battlefield. But then the camera cut and it went to like the aftermath of like the fight. And the great thing about the lead character in Zoe is that not only is she a good role model for like any person, especially that of girls, but she's a good role model for both like black and Latino girls. She's not ghetto. She's not like loud, like all up in your face, popping off and everything. She doesn't use slurs. She's not cussing or doing drugs. She's not dating like no bad boy or nothing like that. She does get a bit sassy and she will check you and everything if she determines you are a rude person. Like, Mia, like when she first met her, Mia was just being rude to like these two other girls she just met. And she defended them and everything. But other than that, she doesn't have like, no ratchety, loud ghetto-ness or like always having the attitude. She's not like that. Now she ain't perfect. She does disobey orders. And she does the opposite of what like people tell her, like her mom and stuff. But it always ends up for like the best because she always has like good intentions and stuff. And she's the type of person that helps save the day and helps people who normally would not be friends like bond and be friends. And the cool thing about this show, and especially her, is the chemistry between that of her and her horse named Raven. Because Raven is like this wild, uncontrollable horse that does not want to be tamed or trained or anything like that. And somehow she's the only person to calm him down to where they grow a bond to where they are very protective of each other. It's a girl in her horse. Like normally it's a girl in her cat or a boy in his dog, but here it's a girl in her horse. So it's a completely different dynamic than what most people are used to, unless you're like a horse person, you know what I'm saying? Now, when the show started, I didn't know who none of the cast members were. But, well, actually, I take that back, I think. I think I knew one because I watched Raven's Home, the first episode only. Like the little girl, Navi, I think her name is. But like, yeah, I really didn't know who nobody was. But like after this, I now know who all these stars are. I've seen about 4 of them in other projects and stuff. So that's like really, really cool. And like the scenery. So it's a fictional town in which they live in, or island, I should say. They never say where, they just say some island off the coast of like Britain or something. But they actually film in Anglesey, Wales. And the landscape is gorgeous. The beach is magnificent looking. Like, especially when the horses and the riders are going alongside, like the shore of the beach, it just looks breathtaking. And not to mention the actual landscape of it all. Like when they're out in the big open fields and there's like slopes and everything, and all you see is like green grass and a blue sky, and a person riding on a horse, and it's completely zoomed out. It's just something to really admire, you know what I'm saying? And because it's in a different country, you really admire it a whole lot more. Each season has pretty much like a strong theme, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so it keeps you like, curious to know how it's gonna end. But it's your typical horse show type tropes, you know what I'm saying? And so like, um, what is it? Oh, the intro. So I appreciate them having an intro because I'm so tired of seeing title card sequences. But like the intro visually is not appealing. It's just the cast and their pictures. But instead of their actual real names, it has their character names next to them, which is kind of odd and everything. But it's the theme song. I love the theme song. It's called No Matter and it's by the band. Um Trying to think, Basic Tapes, and the vocals are done by a person named Frances. I don't know who she is. And so the theme song is very, very catchy, but I prefer it better in season 2 because they add more cast members on there and it adds more of the song. But I looked on YouTube for the song. What you hear in the intro is what you get. It just loops over and over and over. However, if you actually go to Francis's YouTube page and not Basic Tapes, then you hear the actual full version, and it's like 3 minutes and about 20 something seconds long, and it's pretty nice and everything. But I still don't know who that singer is. Sadly, though, this show has been forgotten. I mean, it's been canceled for about 4 years now. And so, like, a lot of people just don't really talk about it no more. But at that time, it was a show that was pretty captivating for people. It wasn't like a huge smash hit between like a lot of people that they talked about it weekly online. But the show was nominated for 7 awards. And I believe they won about 4. And one of the awards they won was Best Teen Drama. That's a huge accomplishment. And not only is it an accomplishment for like the show, the writers, the showrunner, but also that of the cast, and also especially about like this young upcoming actress that a lot of people have never ever heard of. Like I said before, this was a huge blessing for her, and I hope like she had a great experience while filming this, because you always hate to hear that a show you like and then turns out everything behind the scenes were actually terrible. I've never heard none of the cast really talk about the show behind the scenes except for like her. So like hopefully it stays good. And at least 2 people on the show found love and got married in real life. So that's something. So what exactly are the seasons about? In season 1, we get to know our characters. Basically, it's Zoe and her family moving to Britain during the summer. And the theme of season 1 is that somebody is stealing the horses. And so it's up to Zoe and the others to figure out who's doing it while also trying to compete in some type of horse show. Things are not always what they seem because of the fact that it will really surprise you when you find out who is stealing the horses. I do like the misdirect of like the first season because you always assume it might be this one person because there's evidence that suggests that it is, but then it turns out you're completely wrong. So I'm going to do things a little bit differently. So I'm going to give a quick synopsis of like each season, then I'm going to have the character bios correlate to that of the season. Zoe, played by that of Jalen Barrow. So she's a girl from LA, America, of course, and she moves on over to, well, not necessarily moves, but goes on vacation during the summer to that of England, from where her mother came from and stuff. She's a very nice girl, very considerate. She gives everybody a chance, but if you rub her the wrong way, or if she can tell that you're not such a nice person, she will, however, sass you. She will tell you off, and she will put you in her in your place. Which the actress has said those are some of her favorite moments, where she gets to argue with people because she likes to argue with people in real life, and that, like, she's not afraid to check somebody, if they deserve it and stuff. But the character is a good role model, like, seriously. But she is very impulsive. Sometimes she likes to jump before she looks and stuff, and it causes her to, like, get in trouble. She is very protective of, like, her friends, but especially that of her horse. She does tend to lose things. Like, one time she lost her sister, another time she lost her horse. And so, like, she's not exactly perfect, but, like, because she does have flaws, because she does like to point the finger and stuff like that when she thinks something bad is going on. But, when the evidence suggests that, something fishy might be going on, you would assume the same thing as well. But she doesn't really gather that much information before she starts pointing the finger. But she is the type of person that brought an entire community together, like, Bright Fields. You know, the people there, not all of them get along. Like, Mia does not like people, and neither does, like, her friend. And then you have Becky and, like, her friend, and it's just kind of like, with the help of that of Zoe, she helps bring all these people together. Same way with Penn, because it's kind of like The Walking Dead. You have a group of people who are forced upon each other, but they don't necessarily get along. And it takes that one person to bring them all together and have them working kind of like a family. And that's kind of how the type of person that she is. She does have, like, feelings for two guys on this show, which causes a bit of a love triangle throughout the series and stuff. When she shows up at Bright Fields and stuff, you hear her narration in her head, which I do like, because you get to hear her, like, her opinion. And so, like, she knows why they're there, but they can't tell their grandfather. It's because her mom and her dad aren't necessarily getting along. And so while she's there, she's never ridden a horse before. She doesn't know none of the lingo. This is completely alien to her. And as she's, like, looking for her sister, because she lost her sister, she stumbles upon, like, Penn and a horse named Raven. Raven is a very beautiful black horse, but is very untamed, somewhat wild and everything. And so nobody can tame this horse. And I mean nobody. He belongs to that of Mia, and she wants to take pictures with him. And so Penn is tasked with trying to train him. But Raven does not want to be trained or anything like that. And yes, Raven is played by an actual male horse. It really does bug me sometimes when they have animals and they'll say, oh, this animal is this gender, but they're actually another gender. You can actually tell in season 1 finale that Raven is very much a boy horse and everything, because they have him walking or trotting in, like, slow motion. And you see a lot of Raven going in slow motion. I did not need to see that at all. But yeah, Raven is a boy. I don't know what Raven's real name is. Like, they name, like, animals different names. But, like, it's strange. Here you have this untamable wild beast of an animal, and only this one person is able to calm him down. For whatever reason, he finds a kinship in that of Zoe, and it takes him a while because he doesn't want nobody riding him. But, he will protect Zoe just like she will protect him. And those two have such a close bond that eventually he will let her ride him, but not at first. When she's training to like ride horses, she's doing like the basics. And because she's never done this before, she is scared, you know what I'm saying? But the trainers are giving her the basic steps, but kind of speeding it along. And she feel like she's not ready because she is not comfortable. I totally understand. Like, I would be in the same situation if I was to ever ride a horse. That is a big living creature. And it's quite interesting how humans domesticated horses, because all horses were wild at one point, and there are still some horses that are wild. But when they have her train on horses, they have her train on other horses. And so, like, one time she know, like, they keep telling her, hey, look, you're not ready to like ride Raven, but she thinks she is because she's practiced on this other horse. You tell her to do one thing and sometimes she will do the complete opposite. So she mounted a saddle on Raven, and Raven just legit took off with her, and it scared the crap out of her. And he just went like at full speed and everything and jumping over stuff. And you gotta remember, she just knows the very minimum of the basics. So this was like horrifying for her. While this is going on, Becky challenged some other guys on their ATVs, saying that a horse can always outrun that of a car or an ATV. She has a lot of pride in Bob, her little pony and everything. Well, Bob ain't no racing horse, but Raven is, and Raven smoked those ATVs. So with him going like wild and crazy, just like taking off running, it helped prove a point that Becky was trying to make. And so basically, when it comes to her, she has a crush on this one guy named Marcus, just like all the girls do, especially Mia. Mia cannot stand Zoe for the simple fact that at first Mia could not understand why like Raven would go to Zoe and not her and nobody else. But then when she saw that Zoe had treats in her hand, she just automatically assumed, oh, it's just for treats. That does kind of irk like, Zoe a little bit. But what pisses her off even more is that after she meets like Becky and Jade, like they turn out to be nice, but Mia is just being really nasty and vicious towards that of Becky and Jade. And so that causes like, Zoe that's like just like mouth off at her and like put her in her place. And so because of that one moment, she's just been like enemies with like Zoe ever since. That, and Zoe was able to ride Raven, and she can't even like, get near him without him pooping around her and stuff. And yeah, in every season or, every once in a while you will see horse poop, and it is disgusting. But it's even worse when you see it coming out the horse's butt, and it's just disgusting. And it's a lot. It's a lot. But there is a bit of a problem. See, Zoe's mother does not want her to ride and does not want her to go nowhere near bright fields and stuff, but she doesn't know why. And when she asks her grandfather, he doesn't even like, he lies and stuff. So she knows something going on, especially when she finds a ribbon saying like best in show, and he just lies about that. So, of course, she does the opposite. Like I said before, she is a good role model, but she does tend to bend the rules and stuff. So with the help of like Penn and like some other people, she starts riding horses and stuff. To when her mother finds out and is pretty furious and everything. But she secretly finds out that her mother actually knows how to ride a horse, and her mother used to compete. But there's a reason why her mother stopped and doesn't want her to do it. Throughout the rest of the series, her and Penn have like a tumultuous like relationship. It's like they like each other and then they don't. Because like she's trying to tell him, oh, you shouldn't like train him this way, and he's like, oh, I know what I'm doing. But then it's like she accuses him of tranquilizing and stealing the horses. See, somebody's stealing the horses, so she figured in order to steal them, you're gonna have to trank them first. Well, she put up some security cameras, but then he took them down. And then she caught him trying to break into the medicine cabinet and stealing tranquilizers. So, like she just runs out the barn and she just started like, it's him, call the police and blah blah blah. So he literally gets like, detained and arrested and questioned. But it turns out later that night when he was in jail, somebody else stole a horse. They stole Firefly, which is the horse of Mia. So it couldn't have been Pym. So she tries to spend the rest of the couple of next episodes trying to like make amends, but he doesn't want to hear it. But eventually they do come to an understanding and she finds out why he stole the tranquilizers and stuff. And so, like, when it comes to that Firefly being stolen, they deduce the reason why Firefly got taken is because the thieves thought that it was Raven, because Firefly was in the barn of Raven. And also, somebody braided his tail, which is a marker to show the thieves which horse to go for. So, throughout the rest of the first season, like her and pretty much like Penn and Marcus kind of have this like, thing where they both like each other, or they all like each other and stuff like that. Or better yet, they like Zoe. And so when Zoe does like Penn and everything, because they're really starting to bond, especially about his dying horse. But then Mia finds this out and she sabotages it. So much so that like Penn did not want to even take her to this like little dance and went with Mia instead. Towards the end of like season 1, Zoe does try to stop like, the thieves from trying to like steal the horse, but she ends up getting hurt. Then at one point she gets thrown off a horse near like the beach. And when like there's supposed to be this competition which she got entered into, she completely ditches the competition because she sees Raven gets taken. Her and Penn tried to get the horse back, and she tried to fight like one of the like thieves with like a horseshoe and all that. Then when she comes back, she finds out who actually stole the horse, because this person mentioned that she fell off at the beach. Or fell off the horse at the beach. So she realized who could have seen that other than the thief. So basically at the end of season 1, her and like Marcus start dating, which Penn does not like, because he realized Mia ended up like lying to him and stuff. Rosie, played by Neva Robinson. And so she is the younger sister of that of Zoe. She is very much a diva. Like, she's all about that LA lifestyle, and she does not want to be in another country when she can be in LA. The girl is all about fashion, and her hair looks amazing, like a supermodel. Like, she's very much a Disney Channel type person, and she knows like all the like slang terms, and and so like she's very much a valley girl in the way she talks and the way she acts. She also in season 1 doesn't care nothing about horses. Basically, she's in her own little world and she befriends Ben. Ben is the younger brother that of Becky. And so like when it comes to that of Rosie, she is just like her name. Like when Ben is trying to get people to ride his horse Bob for like a pound, which I'm assuming a pound is like $1. She's all like, look, I'll just give you one just so you can go away. But then she wants him to spy on her mom. And so she told him, like, I can, like, zhuzh up, like, your horse and make people want to ride him. So she braids the hair, which is something she loves to do. And she's all about glitters and sparkles and stuff like that. She befriends that of Mia, of all people, because Mia wants to be her friend just so she can get dirt on Zoe. And also, she loves Zoe's handbags to the point, no, Zoe, my bad. She loves Mia's handbags to the point where Mia gives her one. Her thing in season one is that she's trying to figure out why her mom really came on over to Britain and if she's trying to meet up with another guy. Basically, she found her mom's old journal or diary when she was younger and started reading through it. She's all about invading her mom's personal space. Finding out that like her mom used to, I think, be friends or like a guy back in the day. This turned out to be Elliot, but they're just friends. Elliot is the father of Mia. And so, because of this, she goes through, like, her mom's cell phone and tries to listen into her conversations. And then she has been listening to the phone conversations. And anytime she'll see, like, Elliot and her mom, like, hug or something, she will literally force separate them and stuff. She does not want to be in a broken family, and she does not want her dad to be, like, thousands of miles away. Eventually, all her meddling does kind of help mend the fences between her mom and her dad. Okay, Ryan Sands, not Rick Sands. He plays that of Zoe and Rosie's father. And I remember this actor from Marvel Runaways. And I'm really happy to see that even though he's not a main character and not a recurring character, he's just a guest character. It's nice to see that the black father has like still has some type of relationship with like his kids, because I said this before in one of my Black History Month videos, either this year or last year, that like Hollywood tends to imitate reality a bit too much and always show like a black father not in the lives of their kids, and you normally see these single black mothers. So I'm glad they incorporated him in the show. Natalie Gumdy plays that of Maggie, and she is the mother of the two girls. And so when I saw her father on the show, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, so she's mixed. And so like like Zoe and all them, because in the show, Zoe and her sister and the mother are biracial, black and white, even though the actress who plays Zoe is technically Afro-Latino and stuff. And so she's like, a very caring, sweet woman, but she forbids her daughter from riding horses. And the reason for that is because she used to ride back in the day when she was younger, but there was an accident. She wasn't ready to do a certain like move or something like that. And the horse slipped, and I think it like broke its leg or ankle or something like that. For whatever reason, they had to euthanize the horse. And so because of that, she lost her best friend. And it traumatized her ever since, to where when they moved back to England, she just did not want her daughter to ride. But with the help of Elliot, he convinces her that, you should try to ride again and all this other stuff. So because of that, Zoe finds her mom's old, like, helmet and everything, which is completely outdated, and she starts to use it whenever she rides. Frank is that of Maggie's father and also the girl's grandfather. I was taken aback at first. I'm like, oh, he's white. Because I wasn't really thinking about like, the girls being biracial and stuff like that, even though, like the Zoe actress and the Maggie actress are like light skinned. For a black person, black is black no matter what. If you're light skinned, if you're dark, it doesn't matter. Black is black, and we accept you, even if you have a little or you have like a lot. And so like, because we've seen television shows where you'll have like a bunch of dark-skinned family members, and then there'll be this one super light-skinned family member, but it's never explained like in the Cosby Show, but we accept black for black. And so like His home is really lovely looking. It's a nice, almost like a cottage type home, and it has moss growing on, like, the bricks and stuff like that. And he's just a really nice supporting like grandfather. Now, something I said once in a Black History video, I think it was like last year. And this is something that recurs a lot in the entertainment world. No matter if it's Hollywood, North Hollywood, which is Canada, and whatever Britain calls its form of Hollywood, is that something I've noticed in modern like television is whenever they have like a biracial like family, and even in like the past, you will only see sometimes, the majority of the times, you will only see one of the family members. Oh, actually, I should say one of the parents. And so it's very rare to see both biracial parents in like a show or something like that, right? In movies, they tend to show both, but in television shows, they only show one parent, and it's normally only the white parent for some reason. I have seen this in many television shows, especially modern days, where you'll have like a biracial couple, black and white, and they only show the white parent. The black parent is don't know where they at because they never really explain it in a lot of these shows. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, he had to make Maggie with the black woman. Where is this black grandmother? I'm just gonna assume she's dead. And so, like, but they could have had her in the show, like, you know what I'm saying? This show is primarily female, so what's another female, you know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, I have noticed this in a lot of modern day television. In Scream season 3, the television series, there was this one girl, she's biracial, her father's white, and her black mother is nowhere to be found. And so like then there was this one family that where these two women adopted all these kids, and both women are white, and one of the kids is black, and you don't see no black adoptive parent. And it's just like on one show after another, you always only see the white parent, but you never see the black one. Even back as far as the 90s with Sister, both girls had adoptive parents, but then they found their biological father. And when they did in that one episode, where's the biological mother at? Like, you know what I'm saying? It was only the biological white father. So I've noticed that this happens a lot in the entertainment world. Penn, played by Freddie Carter. Penn is a really interesting, slightly mysterious character. He has that rough around the edges bad boy look, and he does have a stern, somewhat pig-headed nature to him, but he's actually very kind and very sweet, and also very gentle. And so his family, his father Ted, they come from a very poor background. Like they live in a very small poor house. They have a couple of like sheds that look like shacks and a barnyard that looks like a shack. And it's a very small yard. Like they are very poor and everything. And so him and Zoe don't get along at first, but eventually they do. Especially when he sees that she has a love for like Raven and stuff. And there are times where he tries to teach her behind her mother's back how to ride like a horse. But there's something mysterious going on with him. He had like tranquilizers in his coat pocket, and Zoe caught him like stealing tranquilizers. And then, he took the cameras down in the barn, and right before he did, it was shown that he was petting that Raven. So after getting caught and arrested, it turns out that he was not the one stealing the horses. As Zoe's trying to make amends with him, she realizes he only steals the tranquilizers because he has a dying horse and he doesn't want his horse to be in pain. And so eventually his horse does die, and they have a funeral service for him along with Zoe's family and stuff. Throughout the season, like, he does develop feelings for Zoe, but because Mia interferes and lies to him, he decides not to take Zoe to the dance. But then eventually finds out that Zoe is lying. He also helps Zoe, not Zoe, he finds out Mia is lying. I'm getting these names confused. But then him and Zoe end up like saving Raven. But then something interesting happens at the end of the season. A woman named Meredith. See, here's the thing about Raven. She used to own Raven back in the day, but Raven got stolen as like a baby. Eventually, he ended up with that of Ted, who is the father of Penn. But because they needed the money, they sold that Raven to Elliot, the father of Mia. So it became Mia's horse, but then Raven went to that of Zoe. And so because of that, and because the horse was stolen, whatchamacallem, Elliot wants the money back from that of Ted, but they can't pay it because they're poor. So because of that, Penn has decided he's gonna work at like Bright Fields to pay off his debt. Jade, played by Manpreet Bambra, I think that's how you say her name. She is friends with Becky and she becomes friends with Zoe. She's a very sweet, nice girl who's also very intelligent and knows a lot about technology. At one point, she's the one who put up the cameras in like the barn, and when she had to like, hold down the fort in like the office and stuff, Bob came in and completely wrecked the place. Bob is like the pony. For the most part, she doesn't really have no big overarching like story plot, but she does help try to figure out like, how the horses are getting stolen and stuff like that. I will say her being very smart is a bit of a stereotype when it comes to that of like Indian or South Asian like characters. However, I would prefer that stereotype other than one of her being like a villain, you know what I'm saying? Becky is played by Carrie Ingram. And so she is also, like I said before, best friends with that of Jade. She's less bright than that of Jade. She's very sweet. She's very kind. She's a little goofy. And she's pretty like, kitty and everything. Like sometimes she'll wear like a big animal on like a shirt or a sweater or something like that. She's like the only character who really keeps her hair the same exact way every season. It's basically two French braided tails that are pulled back and dangle down like ponytails in the back. But in season 3, I think she only has like one. But she's not as bright as everybody else, and she believes in some of the strangest, weirdest things, like a ghost pony. And so she's just not that smart and everything. And she's always coming to conclusions it could be Ghost Pony that did this, and yeah, Ghost Pony. The reason why it's always like a pony with her is because of Bob. Bob is her pony horse. Well, I call it a pony, but I think they're called like something else. But for me, I like to call Bob a pony because he's the shortest. He has shaggy hair that's over his eyes. Bob is kind of like the comedic relief as well in the show. Like he's always getting into something. Like when Jade had to leave the office, he goes in there and like knocks over something. And I love the horse's reaction when he actually knocks over something. It's so believable because he's like, "Oh my God," like type like that expression type look, And then he just starts trashing the whole place. And yeah. Now, when it comes to Becky, their family isn't exactly rich. Like, she has to, like, work at kind of like this calf. I believe it's called, like, barley bag calf or something like that. And one time her brother is supposed to help out by, letting people ride Bob. And so, like, Billy Angel plays Ben. That's Becky's younger brother. He's a recurring character. He's friends with that of Rosie. And so we first see him just like, taking Bob around town and asking people to ride him for like a pound. And so like it irritates Becky because Ben at one point started to hang out with these teenage boys on the ATV, and she said, we can barely make ends meet, and I can't run the calf by myself, and I need him to help out, but he's too busy hanging out with other people and stuff. Bruce Herbelin Erie, I think his name is. He plays that of Marcus. Marcus is the guy that all the girls fan over. They all have crushes on him. He helps teach people how to ride horses, and he helps Zoe how to ride a horse. When Zoe lied and said she put the cameras up to videotape him, he is irritated at first, but then he does start to have feelings for her. His cousin is Sam, who runs that at Bright Fields. He's nice, but he does have a bit of sternness to him. He does know Penn, and they've been friends for a while, and it does start to be a little bit of conflict when they start crushing on Zoe at the same time. Mia also has a huge crush on that of Marcus. Susie is played by that of Carla Woodcock. Boy, that's a last name for you. So anyway, she's the best friend of that of Mia, and Mia loves to boss her around. Like literally, Mia will literally tell her how to think and like what to say and stuff. She tends to get jealous of Rosie a little bit in the first season because Mia takes an interest in her. Celine Buckins, she plays that of Mia. Mia is straight up the mean girl and antagonist of the first season. She hates Zoe to death, and she loves to bully people around, whether it's like the people who ride their horses at Bright Fields, or like it's like her best friend. She has a huge crush on that of Marcus. Her dad is very wealthy and everything. And she has a very stuck up type personality where she thinks she's all that. Anytime there's competition, she likes to snuff them out by finding dirt on them or trying to get them kicked out. She constantly is trying to get Zoe kicked out of Bright Fields and stuff. But it turns out she just wants her dad's attention, which he never gives her. So she's one of those stereotypical bratty rich kids who wants daddy's attention and stuff, which causes her to lash out at people all the time. And one time when she tried to mount Raven, he literally threw her off. And so later on, her and everybody else qualified for the race and stuff like that, or the competition where they do various different things, and they ended up winning. But no matter what, she still just can't stand Zoe. Caroline Ford plays Sam. She is the owner of Bright Fields. Fun fact, she's actually married to that of the actor who plays Penn, Freddie and stuff. I guess they met on this show and they fell in love. Aw. She is the cousin of that of Marcus, and she tends to be a very nice person. She's very friendly to that of Zoe, but when Zoe's mom does not want her near the ranch type area, I call it a ranch, but anyway, she has to put her foot down and be like, look, I don't want no trouble, this and that. It is revealed she is the one stealing horses because she is financially broke, and the place that she owns, Bright Fields, is bankrupt and everything. So in order to make ends meet and keep the place open, she started having a bunch of bad guys steal the horses and stuff. I was shocked to find out that it was her that was stealing the horses. But once it was revealed that she's in debt, I'm just kind of oh, okay, it makes sense that it will be her. After she is arrested, she is never seen again. And then Elliot Mia's father is the one who ended up buying Bright Fields. Season 2 is extremely intense. Normally, for a television show, the second season tends to be the best. Same way with some movies and stuff. And the second season, when I say they up the intensity, they really do it. Like the second season is a bit more of a teen drama, but they still deal with horses and stuff. The whole dynamic between Zoe and Raven, that kind of takes a back seat for the first half of like the second season because it's more teen drama. Then somewhere in the middle, they start to remember, oh wait, it's about a girl and a horse. So they spend like an entire, at least like maybe 2 episodes with her rebonding with her horse. And then it kind of goes back into like a teen drama again. It does suck because the show is supposed to be about like, a girl and her horse, but it's also that of a teen drama. They also add in a bunch of new cast members and stuff. And each one is just as like mysterious or like, dramatic as the next. Except for the actor who plays Alex. They literally had nothing for that dude. When I say, like, seriously, like, Ben had more to do this season than Alex. And Ben is a recurring character. And it's like they literally could not find nothing for that dude to do until they finally said, all right, I just put him in a love romance towards the very last episode. And that's about it. And so, like, yeah. And, when it comes to season 2, like I said before, I truly think it is really like the best. Basically, what season 2 is about, it's about 2 writing schools that are rivals and stuff. You got Bright Fields versus Holloway. And Holloway is that of an academy, very much a prep school for like riding horses and stuff. And they are constantly at war with Bright Fields. That's that one episode at the Renaissance Fair. Boy, that had me cracking up. Also, there's a lot more shady people this season. And some people start to be a bit nicer than what they were the following season. The shadiness of what goes on this season is like so crazy. I can't believe they tried to go there. It's like I said before, they try to be a little edgy, but they have to remember, kids and teens watch this show. And I do like the addition of some of the new characters, but I am really glad they gave a lot of the other characters a bit more to do. Poor Susie, though, she's really just there. And I mean, she's just there. The adults, they take more of a back seat this season. The parents are literally just being parents. There's really not too much with them. Like Zoe's mom, Mia's dad, and of course Penn's dad. It's like there's really not much for them there. They're literally just there to say a couple of things and then they're like out, which kind of explains why Zoe's mom probably found like other gigs to do and didn't show up for the 3rd season. This also marks the departure of 2 main cast members from the first 2 seasons and also 2 new characters who were recurring this season. After this season, like, they had 2 holiday specials, a Christmas one and I think a Valentine's one. But I am glad they were able to give some of the other characters a bit more to do that they had, well, which they did not do that much in like, the first season. So, I'll probably start with the people who had the least to do and just work my way up. So let's see. Alex, played by that of Martin Bobb. I think his name is Simple, I think. This dude literally has absolutely nothing to do the entire season. I mean, absolutely nothing to do. He rides for Holloway, and I guess he's a good rider. Really don't know. He says a few lines and he just disappears for the majority of the episode. Towards the end, he starts to bond with Becky when he finds out she gets car sickness as well. And they start dating and they date on to the third season. And that's literally it. Dude has nothing to do, because he's black. Look, this show might be progressive. There might be a black lead, and they might have a sister and a mother that's also black. But that don't mean they're gonna skimp on another black person because when they had to skimp on somebody, they just picked the black dude. And I've said this before about the entertainment world. When they stick you in a romance arc, when your character has nothing to do like the previous season or the current season, that's normally means they have nothing for you, so they just stick you with somebody to make sure you get some screen time. Susie is another character who really doesn't have anything to do, and she disappears for a lot of the season. Basically, she still gets bossed around by Mia, but not so much. She's no longer jealous of Rosie, but she's dating a guy named Colum from that of Holloway Academy, which Mia tells her to break up with him because he's the enemy. But they continue to date. But then it turns out that he tries to cheat on her with Mia and he kisses Mia. So Mia and Jade try to catch him in the act, trying to get him to kiss her again. But then that causes her and Mia to have a fallout because, she exposed him and she felt a little embarrassed. And so eventually her and Mia make back up, but she doesn't do nothing for the rest of the season. So they literally had nothing for her as well. She's still a little simple-minded in the head as well. Frank has a little bit more to do this season than he did the last. It's revealed that his ex-wife is actually dead and he's very lonely and stuff. And so there's a woman he knew from his past named Wilma, played by a Canadian actress named Linda, and I forget her last name. And she was in Hulu's The Hardy Boys. And so she kind of pops in and out. She's only in about 4 episodes, but she's very friendly and she was doing fortune telling type stuff. Eventually he decided, what's her name? Rosie tried to hook him up with her. But then when he took things too far and proposed to her with a candy ring, Rosie felt like she probably went too far trying to hook them up, but he proposes anyway. She says yes, and then she does not appear in the 3rd season, but he does. Colum, played by Joe Ashman. So he's a new character this season who's dating that Susie. But it is revealed that when Mia tried to get into his school, he was the one who rejected her, and he did it because he didn't want his feelings to get in the way. And then he kisses her. Then he becomes a complete jerk afterwards, and he's just a jerk for the rest of the season and stuff. He's one of those preppy guys who thinks he can get whatever it is he wants, but trying to make out with your girlfriend's best friend is totally messed up. Marcus. So he is involved with Zoe this season and they're dating. And there's a bit of a love triangle between him, Zoe, and Penn. Zoe has strong feelings for Penn, but she's dating Marcus. Marcus is graduating and he's going to college to the academy. But he realizes the academy is way too hard and he also misses Zoe. But it just wasn't working out for him and he quits. He also gets extremely jealous of Penn this season because he can tell that there's something between him and Zoe and that those two like each other. And it causes problems out throughout the relationship between him and that of Zoe. But eventually he realizes that, it's just best to break up with her because her heart's someplace else. And after they break up, he starts to befriend Mia a lot more. it was really sad to see that he couldn't handle it in college and stuff. And, because I think he tried to like ride there or something like that, and he ended up not doing very well. And, that's gotta be tough, not being able to finish college and stuff. But of course, what about his job? Because he was no longer the trainer at like Brightfields. But, once this whole James situation started to happen, he got his old job back. But we don't hear nothing about his cousin Sam. Also, when see what happened last season was the Brightfield thought they won. They had a trophy. Turned out they didn't because Zoe didn't finish. So Holloway tried to like get back at them by stealing back their like, trophy. So, but the Brightfield people did not know that at first. So, what they did was they went and stole it back, and Penn got caught. The reason how they got caught is because Marcus ratted them out to a girl named Gabby. He struggled with that and wanted to tell Zoe, but Rosie would not let him and stuff. And so, because of that, I think he never reveals, or if he does, he reveals it on her birthday, which her birthday was a complete disaster. Ben has a bit more to do this season. He basically crushes on Rosie, but Rosie is not interested. But they're still best friends and everything. He believes in some type of treasure and he wants to go looking for it. And somehow they both stumble upon that up the tunnel that leads to a castle where they find like, this like treasure thing that has a necklace, and it reveals something very interesting about Penn. Other than that, that's really all he does. She's shown to be a lot more simple-minded in the head, just like his sister. After this season, Ben is no longer on the show. Like, he's not even really mentioned at all in season 3. At least I don't think he is. I don't remember him being mentioned. But yeah, he's not in season 3. And it does suck, because like I said before, after this season, like, the mom is no longer in the show. And she went back to LA with her husband and Rosie. I remember this actress from Titans and I believe another show. I can't remember what the other show name is. Rosie is less of a diva this season. She's not acting like a valley girl whatsoever. She's not even like all into all that fashion like she was last season. She's a lot more tolerable, but she's tired of Ben crushing on her. She still does not have an interest for horses, but she's pretending to, just to impress people back home and everything. So she's taking a bunch of fake pictures and she's scared to get on a horse. But when she trips her ankle, she gets on it. Like I said before, her and Ben go looking for treasure and stuff, which she doesn't really believe in, but of course he does. And then when they find the tunnel, they start to believe in it a lot more. I'm so glad they took the whole Valley girlness out of her. That was so irritating in the first season. However, she does not appear in the third season. Her and her mom go back to Los Angeles and stuff. Now, this could be because the actress was doing double duty on this show in Raven's home. But then later on, when Raven's home, fired her and a couple of other the main cast, she later went on to the CW to be in Gotham Knights. Boy, Gotham Knights was a horrible show. She's also trying to hook up her grandfather with that of Wilma. Tom Forbes, who plays James. James is a brand new and very interesting character along with his sister, Gabby. They don't want nobody at Bright Fields and actually nobody at Holloway to know that they're related. There's something extremely shady with those two. He becomes the new trainer at Bright Fields, and he gets on Zoe's nerves. He's like a drill sergeant, always making her do this and do that, and she has to do extra laps because they keep getting into it and stuff. He has a really nasty attitude, but like I said before, he's like a drill sergeant. Gabby is always trying to one up him. It's revealed that she wants to kind of like ruin his life, and also she's very jealous of him, and she wants Brightfields to lose because she's at Holloway. And so she's constantly trying to sabotage here and there. She finds something in his pocket, all the weaknesses and strengths of like all the writers and stuff. But, she has a hidden agenda. So does he. He talks to Meredith and talking about if Raven wins, she should take him back from Zoe and put his sister to ride him and stuff. Eventually, Zoe and them do find out, but they find out a bit more than that. See, it's revealed that their parents died at a young age, and so they was put like to live at like the stables. But he was messing around with a tractor, and an accident happened, and so he convinced his sister to take the blame. He got to stay with a good foster family while she got stuck with a bad one, and so she's been jealous ever since. And so when this is all revealed, and it's revealed that he tricked Mia and all this other stuff, he basically gets fired, but then gets a job at Holloway. But he tries to sabotage the competition by trying to poison that of Raven with, I think, some poisonous candy. But when Gabby finds out, she knocks it out of Zoe's hand before she can give it to what's his name. Needless to say, he does not show up in season 3 whatsoever. Gabby is played by Charlotte Jordan. And like I said before, she is the sister of James. And so at first you really think she's like very villainous and stuff like that because she is the new vixen. She's so like mean. She's like on the level of Mia, but sometimes she outdoes Mia in the mean girlness. To where the point where Mia starts to become a little bit nicer this season. And so like I said before, everything that happened to them, but it's a hidden motive that she has. She wants Raven, and she wants Raven bad. Even to the point of having James train her on Raven when everybody else is asleep, but later Zoe finds out. Zoe and everybody else does not like her, and she tries to do everything to sabotage like Brightfields. When she knows that like Penn is a great writer, her and the other students want Penn to join with them. Then she starts to act all cozy around Penn because she knows that Zoe likes him and stuff, trying to play mind games with him. But the thing is, you really start to hate her all the season until you realize that it's actually her brother that's way worse than her. And when you hear her sob story about her being put in a foster home that was so horrible, she ran away and became homeless at like 15. Like, you just can't help but to feel bad for her and stuff. And even Zoe and them feel bad to where they give her like a second chance. She really did redeem herself towards the end when she found out her brother was going to poison Raven. She does show up in the 3rd season. Jade, she doesn't really do the techno stuff no more, but she's always wearing her hair in pigtails. The whole Jade and Becky thing this season is very fascinating because for the most part, throughout the entire season, they are at odds with each other and they're best friends. But see, Jade was asked to be on the writing team and Becky was not, which makes Becky jealous and hurts her feelings. Because of this, Jade is spending more time with the rest of the writers. And when Becky made her an ugly green shirt to congratulate her and everything, Mia was being Mia, and Becky found out Jade does not like the shirt. And it's really sad to see these two like at odds with each other because they're such best friends and stuff. But when Bob gets sick, this is when, she comes around and starts to hang out with Becky more, only for Becky to literally tell her off, but those two become like good friends again. they really upped the ante with that of Becky this season. Because Becky is so simple minded in the head and believes in a pony ghost and now believes in some type of something pirates or something like that. She is really, really dense in the head and always saying something really like dumb and embarrassing. But like I said before, her and Jade, they do fall apart and have it out and everything. But she's having a real hard time because she is lonely. So she's having to spend a lot of her time with that of Rosie and Ben. And of course, those are little kids and stuff. But she has nobody else to go to because Zoe is busy, like, with the whole pen thing and like the Raven thing and stuff like that. So this season is like a real emotional toll for her, but it gets way worse than that. See, a fire broke out in the barn and the horses, like, were gonna burn to death. But then when they got to the stable, somebody let all the horses out except for two, and they didn't know who it was. It's revealed to be Bob of all people. Somehow he picked the lock with his teeth and he got Firefly out and he got himself out. But then he took ill. Before this happened, he ruined something of Mia. Like he ruined this like Renaissance festival and like caused a bunch of havoc, stuff to fall down. Then he caused one of the horses to take off and with somebody on there. So this caused both like riding teams to be all like, actually Holloway was trying to run after the runaway horse, but for whatever reason Zoe's all like, are they charging at us? Well, I guess it's a fight. Being Zoe and everything, jumping the gun. So both teams charge at each other and they make contact, but we don't see what happens, but we hear a fight scuffle happen and they all get in trouble. Oh, if only they could have shown that. But because of this, Mia got pissed and banned like Bob from like the stables and everything because she doesn't even want like Becky there. But when Bob saved that Firefly, it turned Mia around for the better. But Bob got really sick, and for a full episode, it was really dire for Bob. Like, he took in too much smoke. I don't know why they didn't give him a breathing machine like oxygen, but I guess horses' lungs are different or whatever. And we really got to see the emotional, really huge emotional side of Becky. Cause she's all like, he just needs his ducky and everything, his toy duck, and he'll be better. But they all like, nah, they don't think he's gonna survive. They think like he might have to be euthanized. So Jade actually breaks into an abandoned, like, bright fields and go gets the duck. Burnt, of course, but whatever. And so it's getting to the point where the veterinarian doctor person is about to euthanize that Bob. And I'm like, holy crap, dude, like Becky ain't gonna be able to handle this. But they get Penn, and apparently Penn is a whole lot better at medical stuff than the actual veterinarian. So he ends up saving Bob, and it's like a miracle and everything. After this, like Mia starts to be really close to that of Becky and really nice, even putting her on the team as a mascot along with Bob. This freaks Becky out because she doesn't like the idea of Mia being nice to her. But Mia says she's literally only doing this because Bob saved Firefly and she loves Firefly and stuff. And like I said before, she started to date Alex towards the end of the season. It's also revealed that she's never been kissed. And she's about 16 years old. And the person that spilled the beans was that of Jade because Becky and Jade saw Colum kiss Mia. And Becky was about to spill the beans. And so Jade intercepted and just told that embarrassing story. And the whole thing about Bob and like Becky is so cute because she literally keeps telling everybody Bob is like the best horse here. He is the life and soul of like Brightfields and everything. Like she loves that pony to death. Mia is a very changed person this season. Well, halfway through the season. In the first half, she's still her nasty self. She still bosses people around and tell people you can't associate with that Holloway. She is so vicious that like when she finds out that Holloway wants Penn to be on their team, she tries to sabotage it for him. He still well his father still owes like her father money because her father bought like Brightfields from Sam. And so, like, Holloway decided, okay, we're just gonna give Penn the money so he won't have no attachment to y'all and stuff, and he's free to, like, be here and everything. So she takes the money and she locks it up and pretending like she never got it. So, of course, this causes confusion. Why would Penn take the money? Because he's not the type that would take a handout, but I guess he sees this as a better future and his dad won't have to be in debt no more. So once Holloway finds out, Gabby is actually steals the key from like, Mia and gets the money to give back the Penn. And so he gives it to like, Brightfield. So his dad's debt is completely clear. But he finds a rejected letter in Mia's safe where she had the money, and he read it and everything. It turns out she was gonna leave Bright Fields and try to get into Holloway, but they rejected her because Colum didn't want no romantic feelings to interrupt his like writing. She felt so embarrassed getting rejected and having somebody like Penn being a stable boy who she looks down on getting in and she didn't. But it's weird that she wants to leave because, like, I guess it's because Holloway is always winning and Bright Fields does not. Plus, Bright Fields is really like old and falling down. But, her whole hate thing with like Zoe still is going on because she was supposed to get interviewed for something, but like I said before, the trophy got stolen. So Zoe decides, all right, we're gonna steal it back, only to find out it actually belongs to them. So because of this, the newspaper people overheard that and it embarrassed Mia and she blamed Zoe for it. And so, like I said before, her and Jay tried to work together to expose Column, but then it happens. When the fire happens and Firefly is saved, she turns around a brand new leaf and she acts a whole lot nicer to people, even that of Zoe. And it's turned out that her father skipped some of the bills and the insurance, and they're about to lose Brightfield. And then the fire happens and they have to stay at Holloway with their horses, which she does not because she sees them as the enemy. But then something happens to where she comes to like Brightfield, sees it as home, and don't want to be no place else. And like I said before, her and Marcus start to kind of like each other and stuff. And she starts to be even nicer to that of Becky and that of Jade and that of even Susie and like Zoe. Zoe, I know, I didn't do her last, and she's the main character. That's only because Penn seems more the main focus in season 2. Basically, like I said before, Zoe is back, she's happy, but there's a stipulation when it comes to Raven. Zoe has to win the competition or Meredith is going to take the horse back. But she has no idea what James has done to try to take that Raven away. In the first half, it's mostly just like, a love triangle between that of her and Marcus and Penn. And here's the thing. Her and Marcus never had no chemistry. It was always should be her and Penn. But she's in a relationship. What is she going to do? You know what I'm saying? But Penn kisses her while she's in a relationship. And so when they're playing Truth and Dare, Gabby's trying to expose the whole like Zoe Penn thing, literally ask her, is there anybody else you have a crush on even though you're in a relationship? She won't answer. This causes Penn to get pissed, and they decide they're gonna hash it out by racing their horses. And so this is when they have a huge argument, they kiss, this and that, and then Marcus comes back. Her birthday, her 16th birthday, it was a disaster, especially with the two guys. So eventually, her and Marcus breaks up. But here's the thing, her and Raven, like they don't really do much in that first half until that episode where her and everybody went to the beach and they played Truth and Dare and she had to race Penn. Basically, like I said before, her and James don't get along because he's like a drill sergeant and he tried to teach her how to jump over stuff, but Raven wasn't that great at jumping over things. So he suggested using a whip. She does not want to do that because that's her horse and she doesn't want to hurt him. But when she tried to win the race between Penn, Raven wasn't as fast as Elvis, so she picked up a stick and she started whipping that of Raven. We don't see it, we just get told in the aftermath. This causes Raven not to want to have anything to do with her and is scared of her now. So he constantly keeps running away from her. And so in one episode, nobody can find her. They think she ran away, but really she took Raven out to that field area where Marcus took her in season 1, and she tried to regain that of Raven's trust, but it did not work. And her mom's all like, you have to give him time and just let him go. And if he leaves you, then he just leaves. So she let him go and he took off running and it upset her, only for him to come back. I wish it could have lasted a couple more days for him missing to show that he was really pissed at her and everything. But it literally happened within a couple of seconds. And so during this time, her and Raven are non-existent, and it's mostly just that of Penn and Zoe hanging out so much that like she tries to help him deal with the situation with his mother. They miss the ferry. They have to ride with the grandpa, then go to like a carnival to get some gas, and then they make it to like the thing and everything. And eventually they do start to date, her and Pim. But her and Pim always seem right for each other. Like you can always tell since season 1 it was gonna be them. So why does Penn get the last spot in the major focus this season? Well, this season he's his grumpy self, and he's mostly grumpy towards that of Brightfield, but that of Zoe and Mia. Like I said before, when he helped them break into Holloway and get the statue back, he got caught. Instead of going to jail, they told him, hey, look, man, we'll let you go to school here and we will let you ride on our team. Now, Penn is 16 years old, but does not look it. I always wondered about his age, but he's the same age as Zoe. So when he disappears for a whole day, they don't know where he's at. So they went to Holloway and found him wearing a uniform, and he took up the position. He feels that Holloway would treat him better because they appreciate his writing, whereas Brightfields, they just see him as a stable boy and a poor boy and everything. And so, because of this, it causes tension between him and Zoe and Mia to where they think he's like a traitor and stuff. And doing the Truth and Dare, he literally gets asked, do you think you're a better writer than everybody at Field and everything, a Brightfield? And he tells them, yeah, he is a better writer. And people don't know that because nobody never really gets to see him ride. Him and Elvis are really fast and can jump over stuff. But, then it takes an unexpected turn with the whole Bob situation. But no matter what, Penn does really love Zoe, but things are always getting in their way, whether it be Marcus, Raven, or Mia, or something, you know what I'm saying? Or even that of Gabby. But then they decided to give him a bit more of a backstory. It turns out that his mom is constantly sending postcards wherever she goes because she travels around the world. She literally abandoned him and that of his father. But then she comes back unexpectedly and he wants nothing to do with her until he starts to rebond with her. He even got her tickets to go to the competition, but of the day of the competition, she bailed and just left again. For whatever reason, she just wants nothing to do with them, but I don't know why because it's never explained. This causes him not to even want to be in the competition, and Zoe's all like, well, you're not going to be in it, I'm not going to be in it. So eventually, of course, they go. Well, like I said before, not Susie, what's her name? Rosie found out a secret. It turns out that Penn's mom is a duchess. And so they never knew it. And since she got kicked out of like the family, from the royal family and everything, because this is a fictional land they're in, like a fictional part of England, and the Duke is now dead, but they keep mentioning in the beginning of like the season, Penn is next in line. So he inherits everything, a castle, the money, everything. I'm just kind of like, dude, that's too much of a fairy tale like ending. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he's now a duke and everything. It's so weird and so strange that I don't know if I like that storyline. For the most part, I don't like that storyline. I like the idea he was a headstrong, determined poor boy who wants to, like, who thinks everybody looks down on him. So he tries to, like, keep to himself and show people that he's more than just like a poor boy. But now they went from that to say, okay, we're just gonna give you a happy ending and make you super rich and make you rule over the land. And I'm like, come on, man. It's like that's too much of a fairy tale ending. Like, I just don't like that. You know what I'm saying? But he was like, the main focus of season two, it feels like. He had more to do and he had more of an interesting backstory that involves that of his mom. He even buys Raven from Meredith when Zoe loses the competition and everything. And he gives like Raven to, of course, like Zoe. And that's something she's always wanted since season one. So yeah, he was like the MVP of like season two. But now he's like rich. And not only that, but one touching moment was when him and Zoe and the grandfather, along with Ben and like Rosie, were trying to get to the competition by driving. Zoe reminded him, hey, Penn, you left the island. And he looked around and he realized this is the first time in his life he's left the island. He's never left that place and explored the rest of England and stuff because, his financial situation. And it's so funny because like when it comes to cotton candy, he calls it, I think, frost candy or something like that. And Zoe is like, man, it is called cotton candy. Stop calling it that. I really do like the dynamic of the relationship between her and Penn this season. Like, it was really built up very, very well. And the whole Marcus thing just felt rushed. I've already reviewed the two specials, the Valentine and the Christmas one. So on to season three. Season three is very different. I have mixed feelings about season three. I mostly only like the episodes in the second half of the season. But a lot changes, and I mean a lot changes and stuff. Like, it's weird when you have a show, like the first season is normally one that starts everything off and gets people to like it. Normally the second season elevates everything that came before it and makes it like better. But sometimes that third one tends to drop the ball a little bit. And I feel like that's kind of what happened in season three. The show's always been like, I said before, like Zoe and the Raven, a girl and her horse. But then by second season, while it had a little bit of that, it mostly revolved around Penn and everything, with Zoe still being there, helping to save the day, and bringing people together, and like, and stuff like that. But then in season 3, the show feels like it's more about Gabby now and her brand new horse. See, season 3 is all about the wild horses and everything. And while that like theme is really interesting and makes a lot of sense because it's a horse show, it I don't know, it's like when it comes to the individual like plots of the characters and stuff, instead of elevating them like the way they did in season 2, they kind of regress back to that of season 1. A lot of the characters, and I mean a lot of the characters, their story arcs are very slim and everything, especially that of like Zoe. Even her character development is very slim. She feels more like she does in season 1. In fact, almost every character feels like they do from season 1. Becky, Jade, Mia, she's nicer, but the only thing that's really going on with her is like, two things, but still there's the bare minimum. Susie don't really do nothing. I don't know why Alex is still on the show if they're not gonna give this dude nothing to do, and he barely appears in the season. He's in the opening credits, but he's rarely in the show, and he really doesn't do anything. Column is a little bit like that. Like, Column is nowhere to be found in the first half of the season, but yet he shows up in the credits, but then he has a little bit more to do towards the end. And so it's just kind of odd that, like, a lot of these characters, they don't really have like these big, like, huge plot storylines like they did in the second season. They kind of regressed back to like a season 1 format. Like Penn's dad and Zoe's grandfather, like their roles are kind of the same as they always been. Nothing evolved with them. Penn kind of takes a bit of a back seat, especially his relationship with that of Zoe. There are times where you kind of forget they're even dating and stuff. And then there are the missing characters. Rosie, what was her name? Maggie, the mom. Even Ben, Becky's brother Ben, they don't appear in season 3. They all got written out, and it's kind of like, okay, they made sense when it came to Maggie and Rosie. They just decided to stay home this summer, and Zoe decided to like say bye to them and spend time like with Raven and in England. But what the heck happened to Ben? Like, that's like a big mystery to me and everything. And what's crazy is that the missing characters, they're replaced by a whole bunch of new characters. There are like pretty much, let's see, there are about 5 new characters and everything. I'm not even joking. There are 2 adults and 3 kids. And the 3 kids, of course, because they're brand new, they take up a lot of screen time, so you have to get to know them and everything. But what's weird is that they seem like remnants of past characters. They either dress like past characters that are no longer here, or they wear their hairstyles like them, or they act like them. And it's just like really odd, you know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of like, well, why bring in their replacements if you should just like kept the cast. I mean, they could have recast. That's what they did with Elliot, Mia's dad, and everything. They recasted the role. And not only that, but this season seems to recycle plot lines from like past seasons, especially that of season 1. Now is Gabby finding a horse, bonding with this horse, and everything's about that horse. That sounds like Zoe and Raven and everything. Not only that, but they say that this wild horse that found Zoe It was so wild and untamable, but all of a sudden it saw her and decided to calm itself down. But this happens off screen, and we get told that. It would have been nice to see, like we saw with Zoe and Raven. And then the entire season is about this one wild horse. It's not even really about Raven, even though Raven is the father of this one wild horse named Ariel. But even Raven takes a back seat, and it's just kind of odd, like, you know what I'm saying? And so it's just kind of like if you wanted to make a show about Gabby and like her wild horse, just make a spinoff or something like that, you know? But like, yeah, and it's just kind of like Gabby is after the two specials where she becomes a better person and she was homeless and like Zoe took her in. She becomes horrible again this season because she's jealous of like Zoe. Gee, who does that sound like? Mia. And you know, and I just don't get it. And like Marcus, he's in the show, but he's kind of where he was in season one a little bit and a little bit of season two. And so I just like, even though, yeah, it is a good season, like, don't get me wrong, but it's just kind of like they regressed instead of like progressed and everything. It's almost like, okay, they knew straight up, like, yo, this is the last season, so let's just like whatever, you know what I'm saying? And when it came to the show ending, it was actually Celine, who plays Mia, who let the fans know that the show got canceled because nobody else did. Like, you know, the network didn't let nobody know, none of the stars. So thank God she did, because there are times when shows get canceled and you just don't know. Like, there was this other Netflix show, a Canadian show called, I think, Between. And after the last season aired, years passed by, and people just kind of like, so is the show canceled? Like what? Like the Facebook page is still active. And so years later, then it finally showed up on the Wikipedia site that it got canceled and everything. Same thing with Britannia. After that third season, people just kind of like, where the heck is this show at? Like, they ended on like a cliffhanger. Where's the fourth season? And then we look at Wikipedia, nothing's there. And then all of a sudden, years later, oh, then they finally say it got canceled. And it's like, so thank God she let people know. But you know, at least this show ends and not on a cliffhanger, really. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like a pretty much like nice conclusion and stuff. And so I just kind of find it odd that this show is supposed to be about this one girl and this one horse. But then in the next two seasons, she's still there saving the day and everything. And she has like stuff to do because she's in everybody's business. But then it's kind of like the show focuses more on other characters. And it's just kind of like it should focus on her more because it's her show. You know what I'm saying? Another thing about season three I don't like is there's no more beautiful scenery no more. Like all that beautiful landscape and like foliage and all this other stuff and open fields and slopes. You don't get no shot like that no more. Everything's just flat and dull and just done running on riding on horses like by the roadside and everything like that. And also there's this strange plot with Ted that's something out of like a tycoon from a business tycoon out of the 1990s and stuff. It's just kind of like, why is he doing this for? He's never displayed any kind of tactic like this before. And he's acting like a business tycoon who's doing something completely illegal and stuff. And I'm just kind of like, what were they thinking in this last season? Okay, so Alex, he's literally barely in the show. He's kind of just there when he is, and he's dating Becky. But you'll be hard pressed to even know he's really dating Becky because they don't never do anything boyfriend, girlfriend like. They barely hold hands. In fact, I don't even know if they do hold hands or not. And not to mention, they never ever kiss and they rarely interact in the show, even when they're in the same episode and standing next to each other. If they're gonna add this dude to the show and add him to the main cast, they could have given him something to do. Like, I don't get it. Like, I really don't. Ted is just there just to give moral support to his son like he always does. Nothing really has changed with him. Although he does give a story of when, he met like Penn's mom and how like Penn's grandfather called him a peasant when he attended the castle. Basically, he turns their home into kind of like a nursery for horses towards the end of the series for his son. Susie has a little bit more to do when they're trying to deal with the whole wild horses thing. She has to lie and then take an internship with the mayor. But her and the mayor don't really get along, and it's Mia who ends up stealing her job. For whatever reason, she forgives Mia because Mia is going through some stuff, and she helps Mia like realize that Marcus actually is in love with her. Other than that, Susie never really does anything. Arthur, he is the butler to Penn, and he's been there for many, many, many years. There is kind of like a red herring with him when it comes to the wild horses. They accuse him of poisoning the horses, poisoning Penn, and having like a skull of like a horse. But it turns out he found it in like the river or lake, wherever you call it. And when Penn got sick, he got sick around the same time. Why? Because he was giving Penn water from the natural spring from that of the castle. And so other than that, he's actually a nice guy, and he helps determine what is making the horses sick when he goes back into like the water and fishes out this lead like waste like tube type thing barrel. Marcus is always one of those characters that's kind of there, and he only has like a little to do. He normally is evolved around in like one or two storylines, and it's always a romantic interest. Basically, he is like trying to get a job as a horse trainer for like the tryouts and stuff. And Mia is supposed to help him out, but she bails on him because she's going through PTSD. So Penn decides to help out by doing the horse routine, but Penn doesn't know it, and he decides to do his own thing and just not do what Marcus wants, causing Marcus to fail. Because of this, Mia let him down, but then he finds out what's wrong with Mia. And Mia is suffering from PTSD from falling off her horse, so he helps her recuperate and everything. Towards the end of the series, basically, it's like he gets the job that he wanted, and Mia is happy, but now she realizes that they've known each other since they was kids, and she never realized he was like in love with her. So when things don't kind of go their way, and she thinks that he is gonna go and like be like a trainer, but she thinks that he thinks she is a princess, so she starts acting rude and nasty because Mia is just Mia. But then she realized Princess is just a horse, and those two finally get together after her crushing on him since season 1, and those two kind of having a spark in season 2. Winnie is played by Sadie Sims, and she is the new kid character in the show, and she's part of the Breakfast Club that Becky creates. She's kind of like Becky 2.0, where she's not very bright, and she has Becky's exact hairstyle and everything. She even dresses very similar to that of Becky, and she's there for mostly comic relief, just like Becky. Other than that, she really doesn't do anything other than help her trio out, and her trio consists of Aaron and Heather. Heather is the daughter of the mayor, and she is played by, I can't pronounce this, Sanchaez-Rain Brown. That was hard. And she is one of the new characters, of the kid characters part of the Breakfast Club. She is basically Rosie 2.0, even wearing an outfit that Rosie wore, I think, in season 1, and even wear the pants that Rosie wore in season 2. Why not just recast her as Rosie? But anyway, She starts off very stuck up and very rude. She's very high maintenance, and she always disobeys what her mother says. She ends up getting hurt to the point where her mother like wants to get rid of the wild horses, especially Ariel. So then her mother has her spy on like bright fields, so she can find out where the horses are. She feels guilty because of that, and eventually she does like become a lot nicer towards like after like not wanting to like hurt the horses and stuff like that. And she becomes friends with the trio where she helps them out a lot. Aaron, played by Seth Carr, and is the third member of the trio of the Breakfast Club. I remember this actor from this one show I reviewed, the Benedict Cumber something show, Society, Mystery, whatever it's called. I had no idea he played Sticky. But yeah, that's him. And so here he is Zoe's cousin, I think on her dad's side. And so basically he's always getting in trouble back home, and his mom wants to send him some type of reform school. So she's giving him a chance over the summer to hang with Zoe, and hopefully she'll rub off some of her niceness on him, and so he can stop getting in trouble. He's, for the most part, a pretty good kid. It's just that he doesn't have much self-confidence. I think he likes something called Space Cowboy. And mostly it's like Zoe's grandfather who helps him out and helps give some words of encouragement, because Zoe's grandfather doesn't really do nothing this season. And so basically he's always screwing up. And by mistake for the most part, like when he let Ariel out by mistake because he didn't close the gate properly. And it's just one thing after another, whether he trips and drops a cake on the mayor or something, he just can't do nothing right. And it's to the point where he just realized he's a screw up, but it's the grandfather who really helps give him self-confidence. Along with the Breakfast Club, they save the day by rescuing Zoe and Gabby, and he's the one who captures Colin by tying him up. It's really sad to see him all upset and everything, like, because he doubts himself, because he just thinks he's a screw up in life. But it's just he has a ring of bad luck. Anyways, he heads back home at the last episode, and his mom decided not to send him to that reform school and stuff. Becky is having trouble funding that of Bob. So she decides to create this thing called the Breakfast Club for little kids to like learn how to ride horses and stuff, so she can get enough money to keep Bob there. I remember their family was somewhat financially struggling because in season 1, her brother had this let people ride Bob for like £1, which her brother is no longer in this season, oddly enough. And also she used to work at a cafe, which we don't see her work there ever since the first season in that one episode. And so she's having a bit of trouble with the Breakfast Club because they're a bunch of young kids who just screw up all the time and don't really do what she says. But she mostly spends a lot of her time with them. Her and Alex is like whatever. And she's mostly helping, trying to save the wild horses and trying to find out where they are, to the point at the end of the season Penn appoints her a person who is supposed to like help protect like the wild horses, since her and the Breakfast Club did such a good job trying to help find them. Jade, even though she's supposed to do like the competition thing, she really doesn't do it because she's busy with the wild horses. She is back to being a smart one, and she is the one who puts the trackers on the wild horses. She's also created a science project that's like has to do something with the wild horses, and she helps determine that the wild horses are actually being poisoned by lead in the water system. They made her even smarter than what they did in the first season when it comes to that of biology and stuff. And so because of that, she's written, somebody wrote her a letter who's like really high up in British society and politics and stuff. When it comes to her and Gabby, they are the only two teen characters who never ever have a love interest, which is kind of odd. Honestly, since Alex wasn't going to do anything, I would have just rather for her and Becky to be like a couple or something. I mean, they're already best friends, but whatever. Mia is a heck of a lot nicer this season. I mean, a heck of a lot nicer. She still has her spunk to her, so they ain't get rid of her completely being rude and stuff like that. But basically, her dad created a hotel named after her horse. When dealing with the wild horses, for whatever reason, her horse got spooked and Firefly threw her off him to the point to where just became scared for whatever reason of Firefly and refused to ride him. And she said she's been thrown off plenty of times before, but for whatever reason, this really shook her. With the help of Marcus, she's able to conquer her fear. And then, like I told you before, later on, her and Marcus end up dating. She is also the one who captures her father when she finds out what he did. Personally, I wish they would have gave this story arc to Zoe, because Zoe really needed something to do this season. And it would have helped like the relationship between her and Raven. They could have had like Mia do something else, like more stuff with the hotel and finding out about her dad's shady business, or have her go up against Gabby, because I always wanted the two mean girls to go up against each other. Colum is the ex-boyfriend of that of Susie from season 2. And so he shows up in the middle of the season to help Gabby try to win at tryouts and stuff for those under 18. And so he's trying to teach her, do whatever it takes to win, blah, blah. He's still rude and cocky. And somehow he ended up winning the tryouts, even though he kept knocking stuff over. And so, like it's later revealed, he was working with Elliot to steal the wild horses. And that's how he won the competition, through like, I guess like bribery or something like that. He traps Zoe and Gabby in like a shed with all the wild horses who are about to die because the wild horses are poisoned. But like I said before, it is Aaron who captures him. Frank is kind of just there to give the moral support to that of Aaron, and basically that's it. As for what happened to his loneliness and him proposing to Wilma last season, heck if I know. And like, of course, his daughter, she's back in Los Angeles with her husband and Rosie. And I remember the actress who plays like, his daughter. I saw her in Titans. But the best probably storyline he's ever had was like the Christmas special with his brother. The mayor is Heather's mother, and my God, this woman is mean like I don't know what. She is meaner than Gabby and Mia combined. Like, oh my God. So basically, I can understand her frustration. Her daughter got hurt with one of the horses. But she took things a little too far with wanting to get all the wild horses off the island and stuff. And she even had her daughter spy on like, bright fields and stuff. But when Mia lied to get like, the mayor to go to Penn's place and said that he was going to apologize for the whole wild horses thing. And because this whole thing was set up by Aaron and also that of Zoe, but Zoe bailed because she was too busy with tryouts. When she gets cake thrown on her by mistake by that of Aaron, she just becomes irate. So irate that when she finally finds Ariel, the wild horse, Zoe told her, you're a mother, you will understand. She does not care, and she still wants that horse gone. She wants to separate the mother horse from that of her mate and that of her newborn child. This woman is just nasty, and I mean nasty and stuff. But eventually, a couple episodes later, she does come around, even to the point of Zoe assuming that when the wild horses went missing, it must have been, of course, the mayor. So, of course, Zoe does what Zoe does best and calls the police. Only to find out that the reason why the mayor bought so much horse feed is because she bought her daughter a pony named Princess. So because of this, the mayor just doesn't like Zoe. Penn. Penn is a very evolved character now. He's no longer grumpy. He's no longer like feels like he has to prove himself because he is a duke. However, him and his father still live in their old raggedy house and everything. They won't live in the castle for some bizarre reason. I guess because of like poor pride or something like that. Like I really don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so Penn will occasionally go from the castle back to his dad's place. He still dresses the same and he wants to open up like a horse nursery, but I think he wants to do it at Bright Fields, I believe. Anyways, him and Zoe are still dating, but you rarely ever see them together because she's trying to do the whole tryouts thing. So because of that, it becomes a little rocky in their relationship. Because like especially when he needed her at that little like, tea party thing that her and her cousin wanted to do. And so because of that, like, they just don't get to see each other that much. But anyways, at some point he realizes that the wild horses have become sick. Something is like poisoning them. And then all of a sudden he becomes sick and he literally collapses and passes out. Around this time, this is when Zoe comes back. And his dad is trying to take care of him, but this doesn't make no sense. First, he's sick and he just thinks he's sick with a cold, but he's not indoors staying warm. Instead, he's outside where it's cold and breezy. I don't understand that logic. And he doesn't go inside because it's too damp. Because, like I guess they have like holes in the roof and it rains and stuff like that. Well, then why don't you live in that castle? So then his butler suggests, hey, just stay in the castle and I'll take care of you, make you soup and stuff like that. I don't understand the whole point of making him a duke. I've never liked that storyline. It just feels like a cop out and everything just to get him away from being poor, but yet he still lives and hangs out with his dad and everything in the poor home. He doesn't really utilize his wealth or anything like that much. I just don't get it. It just feels like, oh, he's like, the poor Disney princess, and then all of a sudden he marries like, like a prince and then becomes rich. It's kind of like that storyline, but it's just given to him. It would have been a heck of a lot better if they would have had him just be like a poor struggling boy who barely has an education, but because you never really like, because it's summertime, so you don't really know if they all go to school or not, especially him. But then it's like, he fights to be better, you know what I'm saying? Like he's not really well educated, but he knows a lot about horse medicine and he works really hard and he'll make money to help make ends meet. And he goes step by step to like advance himself. I would have liked to see that storyline a heck of a lot better than him inheriting like wealth and like a castle. But anyway, it's during this time that we assume with the red herring that his butler is poisoning him, but he's not. And with the help of Jade and Becky, they discovered that somebody's been polluting the water which the horses have been drinking and that Pym and his butler have been drinking. It had been poisoning with lead because somebody had been disposing of their lead products and tank barrels and stuff in that lake. So while for whatever reason one of the girls was like cleaning off the lead like barrel for some reason, they see the word royal on there. And so the butler's like, oh, I remember that hotel. And And then, like, Ted was all like, me and your mom snuck into that hotel back in our nefarious days and blah, blah, blah. And so, like, then they all, like, Elliot bought that place. And so then they put two and two together. It must be Elliot who's doing it. So they race back to, like, bright side, but can't find Zoe and them. And then they realize something's wrong and they're missing. And then they head to, like, I guess, like, some place that's near, like, where the old hotel used to be or something like that. And they find Zoe and them trapped in the place. Well, there's a lock on the door. So instead of Pym picking the lock like he's known for doing in the first two seasons, they all pull on a rope. Like him, Becky, Jade, and the Breakfast Club pull on the rope. But the rope snap and then somehow the door just pops open. And I'm just kind of like, could they not do like another take of that? Sorry, my camera died. I mean, he's known for picking locks, so why couldn't he just pick the lock? But anyway, so they head to like where the grand opening of the Firefly Hotel is gonna be at, and like Elliot gets exposed, and then he just takes off. And after that, he decides that since his dad opened up like a nursery to that of like their home, he's going to use the castle for like a tourist attraction. And he's not even going to live there because he's going to live at home in his raggedy home with his dad. I don't get it. I don't get it. What's the point of giving him that storyline if he's not even going to live in the castle? Oy. So I've always wondered when it came to him and Zoe, like, why did he always look so much older than, because he always looked more older than a teenager. Well, I believe the actress who plays Zoe was 18 years old at that time, and they're 6 years apart. So he was about 24 years old. So that explains it. Elliot. So Elliot's been played by two completely different actors. I've never mentioned the one from season 1 and 2 that much because he doesn't really do much, but for the most part, he is a nice guy. And like in one of those specials, I think he was engaged or dating a woman, and she turned out to be like a bad person. But for whatever reason, in season 3, they recast him, and now the new Elliot's a completely horrible, terrible, bad person. One of those sleazy slime ball business owner type people. Why they did this, I don't know. But anyways, so the whole him can't like pay the insurance of the second season for like Bright Fields, whatever. That's like was season 2. So this season he decides to build a hotel and name it after Mia's horse. And so like apparently, he couldn't afford to pay to dump his toxic waste in lead barrels and stuff. So the people that was working for him just dumped it in like, the river near the castle. It made the horses sick. Then it made Penn sick. Then it made the butler sick. Somehow he started working with Column and everything. And so I guess because they had to give him something to do on this show. And so with the horses getting sick and he doesn't want nobody finding out, they decide to kidnap the horses and stuff. So instead of Raven being kidnapped this season, now it's Ariel and everything. And the rest of the wild horses. So then, of course, the girls found out and Column locked them in the little thing. When the whole gig is up and jig is up, he takes off running as the police are coming. And so, like, the girls, like Zoe, Mia, and Marcus decide to chase after him. Apparently, he had a boat waiting in the, like, water area for himself in case something were to happen. He just conveniently had it there. And then when Mia showed up, he's like, oh, I was waiting for you and everything. Come on, let's get on out of here because everything's about to like, go downhill and everything for us. He wasn't even waiting for his daughter. He was going to abandon her and stuff. Like, why did they write him to be this way? But then, like, so she talks to him and everything, and asking what the heck happened. And then she revealed that the police are gonna be on their way because, like, she had one of Jade's trackers to track the police to their location and stuff. And so basically, Zoe's all like, the jig is up, and then he gives up. One, I don't understand why Zoe is there. I understand why Mia is there and Marcus went because that's her boyfriend and he figured she might need muscle. But why is Zoe there? She has nothing to do with Elliot and nothing to do with Mia this season. I don't get it. They realized they didn't give Zoe much to do and she's the hero of the show. So she's just there to be like a hero support, I guess. Do you not see what I'm saying when I say this season just feels like off and it feels very rushed? At least when she was there to save the day in other seasons, there was like a real good reason. But I still don't understand why they did that to his character. So, Zoe and Raven. What friendship, really? You know what I'm saying? Like, they're way better than they ever been before, but they rarely interact this season. Raven is literally just there to knock up Ariel, and that's literally it. Zoe, on the other hand, feels like a person who's not even in her own show. Basically, she wants to do tryouts for underage, like 18, the event thing, the competition. And so she's been training really hard to do that. And so one of her routines is to jump over like a brick wall and stuff. And she's so happy because she's been practicing so hard. But because of that, it's causing her to neglect everything that's important. She's neglecting her boyfriend. She's neglecting her friends. She's neglecting the wild horse situation and stuff. She does help find the wild horses in the second episode. But after that, she's kind of just done with the wild horses and not really thinking about them and stuff. And so her and Gabby are like conflicting this season because Gabby is super jealous of her. And after all that, Zoe has done for her. And so because of that, Gabby ends up stealing her routine. So it kind of feels like a bring it on situation where after Gabby did Zoe's routine, now she has to do the same thing. She has a fan base this season because she's so famous for always saving the day and everything. 3 young girls who are like her stan support. But when they see her copying, well, when they think she's copying Gabby's routine, they just toss the banners with her Zoe's name on it, like, we're done with her. So Zoe uses this to hop over, like, the brick wall. And like, cause if she hops over the brick wall, it's just gonna look like she's doing the same routine. But she wants the brick wall to be taller. But Marcus tells her there are no more bricks, so she uses the banner. She hops over it, and you think she will win, despite knocking down other stuff. Because Colin knocked down other stuff, but Colin won, and Gabby came in second because she didn't knock over anything. Well, because like she left her family back home just to come back to Brightfields and be with Raven and everything, she realized it was probably all for nothing. And with her neglecting so much stuff and her feeling like crap, she realizes maybe I should just go back home to America and just forget all this. So she's literally about to go and barely tell anybody. But like, a little intervention here and there and her saving the day here and there and her finding out Colin was the one who helped steal the horses, she decides like to stay and help save the day. Anyways, since Gabby feels like crap for like, stealing her routine, she gives her the prize. And the prize is to train at like this horse school in Florida. So then it ends with her just like, we don't know if she's going to accept the award or not, but we know her and Pim are happy and kissing. And it kind of ends like that. So it kind of ends on a cliffhanger and it kind of doesn't. You can make your own assumption, like whether she goes or not. But either way, we know she's probably either going to go back to the States, to LA, either go to Florida to train, or just stay in, England. She did contemplate taking Raven home with her back to LA and everything. So we don't really know what she's going to do. Gabby and Ariel, they put a lot of emphasis on Gabby this season. And they made her back into a horrible character after they redeemed her at the end of season 2 and in both the specials. I don't know why, but I guess they needed for her to do something. So it turns out she's just really jealous of Zoe, the Zoe that helps her out so much. The girl was literally homeless and Zoe lets her live with her. But she's tired of everybody talking about Zoe. And she even calls her Super Zoe, who's always saving the day. And I don't understand this jealousy, but it does make a little sense from season 2 because, she grew up in like a bad house home and had to run away at 15 and always had to struggle to make ends meet. But all of that should have been in the past and they should have evolved her character. So instead, she's just rude and snarky to Zoe all season and hides the fact that Ariel got knocked up by Raven. She doesn't want nobody to know her secret of her horse, getting pregnant. It's like her special secret. But Marcus knows somehow. And it doesn't really explain too much how Marcus knows. But anyways, so it turns out Ariel is a wild horse, and for whatever reason, in the episode 2, when the wild horse is about to be corralled and everything, they ran off. And when they ran off, all of a sudden, Ariel went to Bright Fields to be with Raven, but then being wild and crazy, nobody could tame her, and apparently it stood in front of Gabby and decided to be tamed. But we never get to see this. We just hear about it. So she's happy. She finally gets her own horse. And the horse is like a very, very dark brown, almost black kind of horse with nappy hair. Taller than Raven, I think, and everything. And so, she's happy and excited. She's kind of like, wow, look at me. I'm kind of like Zoe. I tame, the untamable and everything. But then, of course, Gabby starts to selling at everything, and, that makes her jealous. Even to the point of calling Colum so he can train her. And when she found Zoe's routine, because her routine was so jumbled and everything, she decided to just steal Zoe's routine. And her and Zoe constantly hash it out because Zoe doesn't understand why she's being this way. But it's just it makes her character looks very sour. So after she comes in second and Colum runs off and everything, and she later gets first prize, she does feel horrible about apparently what she does. Apparently she's been crappy all season, but then the moment she realizes, oh, I feel horrible that I took Zoe's spot in the competition and Pim's now sick, she decided to just turn a new leaf, and her and Zoe just become best friends again. And they're good now. What the heck, that was so rushed. Also, her becoming best friends with Zoe also feels rushed. Season 2, they couldn't stand each other. During the specials, it was frenemy kind of thing, but it was getting better. But you would think Zoe would be best friends with Becky and Jade, but hey, whatever. And if she was going to be best friends with anybody, why not Mia? Because of how much they hate each other in season 1 and that redemption arc, but whatever again. But I guess because Susie had Mia, but whatever. And so at the very end, she's at the party and she's still feeling jealous over over Zoe and everything. And so she realizes, I need to let Ariel go. Ariel's a wild horse, should not be tamed, should not be domesticated. and I'm messing up with her way of life. So she lets Ariel go, and Ariel runs off with the other wild horses living on like, Penn's like property. Which I never understood why they call him Penn. His name is Peter Hawthorne. I don't get it. Anyway. And so like she just tells Zoe of like, the like, Florida letter and all this other stuff. It's like her character makes no sense this season. You'd think Mia would be the one to be jealous and everything, but since they really wanted to redeem her character and give her the PSTD of like falling off a horse, I guess they gave like Gabby like, this thing. I don't get it. Like whatever. And you know what? All the girls like on the show are very beautiful and gorgeous, but Gabby looks like a freaking supermodel. So it's like, how does a poor girl who's homeless end up looking this glamorous and stuff? I will never understand. But anyways, so yeah, it feels like it was more of her season than anybody else's, and especially that of Zoe. So with everybody's story kind of like concluding, the one with Zoe kind of leaves off on a cliffhanger, but it also gives the audience to come up with their own resolution as to what exactly happened to her. And because there was no more like show after that, because Netflix, well, they have a rule to where they really like to go anywhere between 3 to 4 seasons with shows. And with British shows, they like to keep it small as well, to normally about 3 seasons also. But sometimes they can always go over than that. But yeah, it's just like the show got canceled. Why? Who knows? Maybe they was running out of budget to pay people. Maybe fans just wasn't into like this new season. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But I still think this is like a really cool, like, fun show for a lot of people to watch, especially family members. Because like I said before, there's like, like, well, okay, there is one cuss word and there's one type reference to beer. Like in the second season, like Elliot and what's his name, Ted, was like kind of scuffling and they're like want to get a beer and everything, and but they do it off screen, and then not Elliot, but Ted cusses once, but it's like a minor cuss word in season 3. I guess, like I said before, they want to be a little edgy, but can't cause like a kids show. And so, but for the most part, this is a really good like family type show for anybody to watch. And I now remember that other like British horse show I was talking about on Nickelodeon called Ride that only lasted for 1 season. I did not like the first episode. It's on Roku TV. I might watch it because I'm curious now, because now it's about like either a Canadian or an American girl who goes to Britain to learn how to ride horses. So it's kind of similar to this premise, but that show came out for like a year first before this. So it's kind of curious to know why exactly people like free rein, but they don't like ride. But then again, like I said before, I didn't even like the first episode. So I'm kind of curious to know what's the difference between those shows and stuff. But yeah, Free Reign was just like a pretty cool show and everything. And I do like how after a while they evolved some of the characters. Like at least Penn wasn't no longer grumpy and stuff like that, and wasn't poor, and then I finally opened up his hospital for horses. But the whole castle being a duke thing just kind of irks me. I do like how in the third season Becky is less goofy and less dumb than she was in the second season. Like in the first season she was a little, but not really. In the second she was really stupid, and like in the third season she's kind of like how she was in the first, but a bit more mature and everything. Still a little silly, but not as much. Alex, my God, why couldn't they give that man something to do? This is something, you know what I'm saying? And Susie, she has a little something to do, but she needs something to do, but it's just like, The show cast is way too big, and if you can't write stuff for everybody, then you gotta write some people off. But the people they had stuff for, they wrote them off for whatever reason. But all in all, like I said before, it is a really cool, good show. You know, it's on Netflix, so you can watch all 3 seasons. It's not on DVD, but you know, it was just something different to watch because I normally just watch like superhero stuff. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, well, I'll talk to you later. Bye.